Cost safety versus savings. You guys did a poll, ran a poll in News24, and the results were quite interesting, to say the least. It seems that the majority of viewers go for something cheaper at the expense of personal safety when they buy certain vehicles.
Yes, look, this all came about because the global NCAP, safety watchdogs, basically they released results for Indian-built vehicles, and they found that the Datsun Go, recently launched in South Africa, received a 0 safety rating. This is for Indian spec model, but it's also available here. We ran a poll just to find out what people think in terms of vehicle safety, what their buying needs are. And the vote received about just over 18,000 responses, the majority of which, fortunately, selected the option for I want the best protection in cars, which is great. But we have to be realistic in SA, seeing as how expensive cars are. So about just over 7,000 people voted for, they would choose a safe car, but it depends on the price. And sadly, that affects thousands of South Africans. Alarmingly, just over 1,500 selected safety isn't apparently an issue for them. Look, in their defense, many of us drove cars without airbags or ABS for a long time, and in fact still do. And those cars even get passed down to our kids. So is it really that major of concern? Probably now in 2014 we've got loads of safety systems, but as cars continue to be keeping expensive, how are we supposed to include safety and meet people's budgets?
I mean, of course, the Datsun are getting a bad rap in this article, but I mean, there's a lot of budget car makers out there that are guilty of. And I mean, one reader points out, I guess the real problem is, I mean, we all know that budget cars do have very limited safety specs, but it's the way they're marketed.
Indeed.
Marketers need to be honest about these brands.
Look, you're quite right. Look, overseas, there are many different specs for vehicles. They don't necessarily translate to South African sales. But not to pick on Datsun, there are many other vehicles, Suzuki, VW for instance as well. Cars that are sold here have higher safety ratings than those in India, which is bizarre if you think about it from an automaker's perspective. Why sell the same car in different countries that have less safety? It's baffling for me. But I guess you're right. Look, it all comes down to price. And unfortunately, the vast majority of us can't afford the high-tech safety systems in cars. So I suppose that would be the deciding factor, if not the most important factor when buying a car.